A lot is changing in Portugal in terms of migration. And so this video is to pretty much inform you about the various processes that have been changing. A lot keeps changing over a very short period of time. So you have to keep up with the new updates and what to expect, especially if you're thinking of moving to Portugal or you're already in Portugal and you're wondering what you're going to do depending on your process, depending on the visa that you're on, whether you're on a residence permit, whether you're studying, and so on and so forth. This video is just a small glimpse of what you potentially could expect. So I always encourage you to do your own research, reach out to the relevant authorities so that you can get the right information depending on what you as an individual are going through in terms of your visa, your residence permit, and so on and so forth. Now, in the first place, there was a change from SEF to AIMA, which occurred last year, and quite a lot has changed since then. And this shift from SEF to AIMA has caused quite a lot of challenges and difficulties in terms of backlogs and so on and so forth. So there has been quite a number of delays in terms of residence permit renewals and getting an appointment to go do your first residence permit. There has been a lot that has been going on, and you can see this even online, and a lot of wait and patience and all these things going on. Now, one thing that you have to realize is that due to this shift, there was a lot of changes in the structure. And so what happened is that all residence permits that had expired since last year were extended all the way to 2025, June 2025. Their validity was extended all the way to June 2025. Now, whether they are going to extend this once more is something that we're gonna have to wait and see, because a lot keeps changing so rapidly, like I mentioned before. So it is important for you to always read forums and see what other people are going through. Yes, however, please always make sure that you're sticking to your own process, because perhaps you might be on a D7 visa or a D8 visa, or maybe you're on a D2, or maybe you're on a student permit, and maybe your process would definitely be very different from somebody else. Now, another update that has happened recently is that AIMA has stated explicitly that if you're trying to renew your residence permit, you have to submit all the documents. This is because there has been quite a lot of issues back and forth, especially maybe you miss a document, or maybe you miss, for instance, your criminal record certificate from your own country, and it is not valid by the time that you're applying for renewal of your residency. Then your process is delayed, or maybe it is kept in limbo as you wait to process this document. So the new update is that you have to submit all the documents at once for a residence permit renewal. And this is a shift definitely from what used to be there previously. They would maybe give you like 10 days, give you a filter. Maybe there's something that is not, in line with all the documentation that is required, and they give you some bit of time for you to submit this document. This is no longer going to be the case. So it is important for you, if you're trying to renew your residence permit, to have all the documents in place that you are required to present, depending once again on the type of visa or permit that you are on, and make sure that you have them in place as you go for your appointment. Now, another update that was done, and this was done back, I think, last year or thereabouts, is for citizenship, and in terms of the 5-year count, where now it's actually going to count from the first time you actually apply to get a residence permit, and not the first time you actually get that residence permit. I hope that is clear. It is the first time you actually apply to get that residence permit, and not when you actually get the physical card. That is how the 5 years will be counted. So potentially, if for example you go to Portugal and you applied to get your residence permit perhaps maybe in, say, January, and you only got that residence permit perhaps maybe in March, the 5-year period will start counting from January and not from March for the 5-year period for you to qualify to apply for citizenship in Portugal. Once again, this is very dependent on your own country, whether they actually accept for you to have dual citizenship or not, or if you have to give up one, then this is up to you. Again, this is something that you have to do your own research, because it is very dependent on an individual basis and what exactly they are going through. Now, another thing that you will notice is that there has been a lot of changes with the golden visa scheme. It is said that it was scrapped, but then maybe not. So the thing with the golden visa scheme is that it used to be very dependent on investment on property. And so you would buy property, maybe 500,000 euro property, and then you would come to Portugal and you would potentially just spend even a few days just in Portugal, but then this would make you liable to get the citizenship of this country. However, now things have changed and this investment has shifted into various other items, in terms of maybe you need to invest in research, or maybe you need to invest in a certain industry, and for you to qualify for that golden visa scheme. Yes, you still can invest about 500,000 euros in a certain industry. For instance, you can invest in something like research and be able to actually get a citizenship over time. And the real estate investment options were eliminated, and per se, this process no longer accepts property purchases or real estate funds. In any case, what happens is that you would need to actually have some sort of investment, maybe in cultural heritage, in maybe job creation, showing that you have a company that potentially creates at least 10 jobs for you to qualify. So there's a lot of changes in terms of where you can invest, and there's a lot of scrutiny as well in terms of what you're actually doing for you to be able to actually get that golden visa. Now, there are several other visa schemes in Portugal. I've talked about this on this channel. We have D7 visa, we have D2 visa, we have D8 visa, we have the job seeker visa. There's a lot of visa schemes that are still going on. Those are still in place. However, the scrutiny, for instance, if you want to come and start a business in Portugal, there's a lot of scrutiny in terms of exactly what you're coming to do, your business proposal, what exactly is your business about, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot more scrutiny. If you're trying to come here on a nomad visa, there's a lot also ease of coming in, whereby you would need to prove that you are at least earning, I believe, around 3,200 euros or thereabouts per month for you to be able to qualify for this digital nomad visa. We also have the job seeker visa that is still in place, whereby you can come to Portugal without a job and look for a job. It is still valid for the period of time where you can be able to even extend it all the way to at least 6 months. So initially it's 120 days, so that is about 4 months, and then you can extend it for another 60 days. So it's a total of maybe potentially 6 months, whereby you can come to Portugal and look for a job and be able to integrate that way. Once you get the job, you get the contract, then you can be able to go to AIMA and secure your residence permit and then integrate into the system that way. It is not an easy process. None of these visa schemes are easy to actually process. There's a lot of paperwork, there's a lot of bureaucracy, there's a lot of waiting, and so on and so forth. And especially if you're coming to look for a job, it is one of the things that I always say is that start looking as early as possible, and always know that in terms of the language might cut you off initially, because the language of the day is Portuguese, and for most of the jobs they require you to actually speak Portuguese for you to qualify for, especially if you're coming on a job seeker visa. Now, it is important for you to also check other jobs. There are other jobs that do not necessarily require you to actually speak Portuguese, and there are other English speaking jobs. And so it is important for you to start looking for these jobs as early as you can. One, depending on your skill set. But sometimes I also have a few questions here and there, people asking me, can I just come and find any job on a job seeker visa? Yes, you can come and find any job. However, that job that you actually get, you would need to have a valid contract, and you're paying your taxes, you're paying your social security, you're pretty much doing everything by the book, because I propose you doing things by the book, because it is important for you to go through the whole process, be as patient as possible. And once you get that contract, then you get, yourself an appointment to AIMA, and then you can be able to process your residence permit that way. So it is important for you to start looking for these jobs as early as possible. I've spoken about several websites where you can check these jobs, and I will leave a link to some of these. It's Net Empregos, we have Indeed, good old LinkedIn. We have Portuguese websites where you can be able to look for these jobs. One thing that I have to caution you is that if, for instance, you see maybe an outside agent saying, oh, we have jobs in Portugal, we can help you with this process, always scrutinize everything and take everything with a pinch of salt, because some of these agents might not be very legitimate. So always do your research before you can trust anyone to do your process or help you with your process. If you're also coming to study, it's important to note that yes, you can actually have a job as you study. However, you have to really look out to balance these two, because it is also dependent. If you're coming on a self-funded basis, you can be able to look for a job as well as study. If, for instance, you're doing a master's program, so you have to balance the two, whereby you have classwork. If for some, I have seen, if for example you have evening classes, then it becomes easy, so that you can work during the day and then in the evening you can go for the classes. It can be quite a lot, however it is definitely doable. Now you can also do jobs in restaurants. Most of the jobs that are really in high demand in Portugal would be in the hospitality industry, for example in the tourism sector. We also have in the tech industries, we have in the agricultural sector. There are several jobs that are still in demand in Portugal, and you can definitely come through. And especially if you actually speak Portuguese, then this is an added plus for you, because you can go into medicine, work in the healthcare as a nurse, etc. But the thing is that cuts you off is obviously the language in most of these sectors, because the language of the day has to stand out. And especially if you're thinking of moving to Portugal, I would highly recommend that you start learning the Portuguese language, and especially if you're eyeing to go and work in some sectors that are really, you have to have the language and a very good command of the language. Otherwise, they will not pick you out. Now, again, it's important to do your own research, and I will tell you for free, the big cities, a lot has changed, and there's a lot more scrutiny, there's a lot more that is happening. You can even read the news that there's a lot more happening in terms of migration and the rules and the changes. So do your own research. Once again, also, the fact remains that the cost of living is very dependent on which city you pick out. Bigger cities like Lisbon, Porto, Faro will obviously have a higher cost of living as compared to other smaller cities. So again, the thing is you have to discuss and think on your own exactly why are you coming to Portugal, what are you gonna do in terms of work, what are your options, and always have a plan from A to Z, because again, it's not easy. I will let you know that a lot has been said, oh, come to Portugal, come to Portugal. Yes, it is a fantastic place to be, but the process of it takes time. the process of it takes time. It needs a lot of patience. It needs a lot of paperwork. It needs a lot of, for instance, if you're listening to me and you are in Kenya and you are looking to come to Portugal via a job seeker visa, or you're coming to even study, then you have to also travel to Maputo to actually do your visa process. So either you can travel by air or by bus, depending on your preferences, and then you go and present your documents to the VFS in Maputo, and then you would have to go back to Kenya and wait for the courier services to actually send back your passport. And it's not easy. It's already costly, as you can imagine, having to fly from Kenya all the way to Maputo. I've seen flights from anything from 500 euros all the way to 1,000 euros, depending on the flight that you take. We have Air Ethiopia, we have Air Qatar also flying there. We also have other airlines that fly there, and not as frequently. Some people have opted to go via bus, whereby, you know, you go from Kenya all the way to Tanzania and then all the way to Mozambique. Once again, you have to do your own research for that part. And see, you know, whether that is also a viable option. So as you can imagine already, it is costly to process the visa itself. And then, you know, important for you to set your expectations straight, because you might as well be thinking that, oh, I'm just gonna go to Portugal and I will do all these kind of things. I will find a job within no time. Yes, you can find the job, etc., but also the cost of it and the things that you have to take care of, there is quite a lot. So I'm not scaring you away. I'm just really just telling you exactly as it is, because a lot has changed. A lot potentially would be still changing, will continue to change. And as you have seen even in the news, immigration nowadays, there's a lot of challenges and difficulties that are occurring over and over again. So it is important for you to make an informed decision. Now, if you give Portugal patience, you will get a good, you know, glimpse of it, and you will get a grip of it. And I will tell you for free, it is fantastic to live in Portugal. There's a lot of good quality of life. And I mean, there's a lot of a feeling of welcoming feeling, a hospitality feeling. The Portuguese people are very friendly, and so on and so forth. So it's also, you know, a plus to everything. However, do your own research, be ready to wait, be ready to you know, do a lot of bureaucratic processes, be ready to pretty much just enjoy the process, because the process could even take anything from 6 months to 1 year, depending on the visa that you're actually thinking of coming with. And eventually things will work out. I'll tell you for free, personally, I have waited and waited for processes to occur until you know, yeah, they occurred, and I was like, okay, that's wait, I don't know whether it was worth it. Sometimes I'm like, okay, maybe COVID helped quite a lot for the wait, but again, I would like to offer you all the patience that I had, and make sure that you can be able to have the same. And I do hope that this video has been helpful to you, and I wish you all the very best as you actually come to Portugal. And in case you do have any questions, please leave them on the comment section below, and I'll be happy to answer them according to the information that I know. Once again, I'm not an immigration officer or lawyer. Please don't come for me. I'm just a messenger who is looking out for you in case you're thinking of moving to Portugal. Now, if you enjoyed this video, I have quite a lot of more videos about Portugal, so please, you can binge on the videos about coming to Portugal. And also let me know any other videos that you would love to see on this channel, and I will be more than happy to actually do them and let you know exactly what to expect and what to do as you plan your move to Portugal. All the best, and go ahead and follow me on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook, wherever you feel is best for you, LinkedIn as well, and I'll be more than happy to interact with you. And until next time, bye.